Right then, Sunday sees the final, no surprise, and PSG are huge favourites then to lift the trophy. Chelsea coming in as underdogs. PSG fans out, of course, in numbers to support their side. As Mark mentioned, I'm sure they've won a lot more supporters as well over the last month. This was their meeting in Times Square. I bet you were jealous you weren't there, Jules. You're in Switzerland at the moment.
I am a little bit, to be fair, but it's great to watch. I've watched all the games. I've still been in touch very much with the team from here. So it's great. It's great. I'm glad to see those fans there. You've got the PSG fan club from New York with, I think, has 250 members. And then the club has invited a lot of the ultras to come for the semi-final and the final. It was a very affordable kind of package deal. If you want 500 euros for your plane tickets, your hotel, your match tickets for the semi-final and potentially the final if they qualified, which they did. So I'm glad a few of them, few hundreds came from Paris as well for the semi-final and final.
Compare and contrast, Jules, the way in which this tournament is being covered in France with PSG, the big favourites, say, to England.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you've got games on big channels in France who bought the rights for the PSG games. So the final, obviously, tomorrow. The women's team are playing, by the way, here in Switzerland. But instead of showing that on the main French TV channel, they swapped to another channel. So both could be on terrestrial TV, but the PSG game, the final, will be on the biggest channel of the two. And all along, the coverage from L'Équipe newspaper, for example, has been great. From the Parisien newspaper, it's double pages, 3 pages every day, pretty much, to follow the team. And because, as Mark said, PSG have done so well, because they're in course for what would be an incredible 5th title in this one, and potentially 6th with the Spurs game. And then, let's not forget, there's also the Intercontinental Cup coming in December. That's still on. Yeah, that's still on, despite this Club World Cup. They might win 7 title in the season, which nobody has ever done because there was no Club World Cup before. So it's a very much a historical season potentially for them, and that's been covered heavily in France.
Meanwhile, in England, Oggy, I suppose you've had Wimbledon, you've got Test cricket. It seems that transfer talk still seems to be making bigger headlines than what we've seen happen here.
Yeah, I was surprised. I saw the back pages from the Saturday morning papers in the UK, and it's not really made a ripple that this game. And obviously, I think Enzo Fernandez made some quite spiky comments about the heat and the weather yesterday. I thought they would have made the back pages, but no, you're right. It's cricket, it's Wimbledon, a bit of stuff about Liverpool, so it's not really caught the attention. And I think there's a real kind of aversion to it in the UK because, I mean, obviously we're quite grumpy in the UK at best it sounds when it comes to football, but I just think it's not caught the attention because it's not been sold in the UK as a positive experience. It's been sold as another FIFA junket. So I guess, and also as well, Liverpool aren't in it, Manchester United aren't in it, the biggest clubs aren't in it, Chelsea, Man City are big clubs, but not quite at that level. So they haven't really kind of gripped the nation like I suppose the biggest clubs would have done.
Right then, Robbo, how do you stop PSG?
There's 2 things that Chelsea will need to do very well. And the first one is, and I've seen it happen to PSG on 2 or 3 occasions, but Arsenal did it in the very first game when PSG weren't playing particularly well, and then in the second leg of the semi-final. And it's almost, you've got to lock them down one side of the field. And I've seen it happen a couple of times. Bayern did it quite well. So you almost let the ball go to the left-sided centre-half, who will be Beraldo in the game tomorrow, and almost force him to pass it to Mendy, who goes quite deep. And then go and block them playing it back and block them playing into midfield. And they play a straight ball, and it happened many, many times. They play a straight ball to Kvaratskhelia, and that's when he's not so good with his back to goal. And
I'm laughing, Robbo, because I stopped listening after about 5 seconds.
But you asked me, and that's how.
I know.
That's how they won. Teams have won the ball back against them the most. And the other thing they've got to do with Cucurella on the left-hand side, he likes to press in. Is he going to press against Hakimi and really go up the field? And he's got to then get Colville, who will probably play on the left-hand side, to come across and mark Doué. That's a big decision that the manager's got to make. That's a big decision that Cucurella's got to make. Does he leave Doué and come and close Hakimi down before he can get a run on him, or does he drop off and try and hope that Neto goes back with him or Nkunku goes back with him? I think it's got to be the former.
Do you agree, Stevie?
I'm kind of going to go old school. I think you just let them have the ball and back off. You know, even if you do what Rob was talking about, you still have to be at your very best with your front guys closing and the spacings all over the field. And even if you're at your best doing that, if they're at their very best with the ball, you're still going to struggle.
What I was saying is, at those moments when you think, right, this is the time, this is the trigger. We've got the left centre half's got it. They're going to go to the fullback. Now we've got 2 or 3 seconds maybe to go and press. The other times, I agree, you've got to let them have the ball, be compact and do what Real Madrid didn't do, which is have too many spaces and the midfield players didn't go and close down. When the ball comes, if you're not going to press the ball, when it comes into midfield and and defensive areas, you've got to be even more intense with your closing down, even more intense with going and stopping people playing forward. Real Madrid didn't do that. They weren't closing people down in the front areas. The midfield players just stood in their position and allowed PSG's midfield to run around them. And then the back players made bad decisions to come out and press the ball at the wrong time. And Chelsea can't afford to do that.
And again, that's coming from on the board, in theory.
Yes.
If all that's done properly, it works. But again, if you look at the two teams in terms of football smartness, I'm not so sure Chelsea as a unit can do that. So that's why I would be, if I'm Chelsea, I'm backing off and say you're going to have to get through 10 men and a goalkeeper.
The only problem is Maresca in his press conference yesterday, when they said to him, well, you're not going to have much of the ball, are you? He went, who says we're not going to have much of the ball?
Right.
So that almost says that he wants to go and press it.
Yeah.
How did PSG lose this game, Jules?
It's a good question. I mean, I think both Steve and Robo's tactics can work, but the times where we saw PSG the most rattled this season was the second half against Aston Villa in that quarter-final away at Villa Park. After at the break, PSG were 5-1 up on aggregate, so Villa had nothing to lose really in that second half, and they went and were so aggressive, especially in that midfield. They had a very solid, strong physical midfield at the time with Kamara and McGinn and Tielemans and Onana, and they really went for it. And they went for Vitinha, and they went for Neves, and they went for Ruiz, and that disturbed PSG a lot with the ball, and they recovered the ball quite high and then created some chances. Arsenal, like Robo said, semi-final, second leg. The first 20 minutes, if Odegaard scores that chance, a 0-0, then they can come back again. But they were, again, very aggressive, very front-footed. The problem is, and we saw Bayern doing that, is that if in your press, when you're front-footed, you don't get the ball back like you want to, PSG are through you, and then they will create chance after chance. So it's very difficult. I think it's finding the right balance, really, between the two tactics that Stevie and Robo just explained. Sometimes playing deeper and sometimes going for it, but you can't get it wrong if you go and press them high, because if they go through you, then on the other hand, it will be a big chance for them.
How much are Chelsea playing with house money coming into this, Mark, considering what? PSG over the last 12 months, beaten Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, thrashed Inter Milan, thrashed Real Madrid. No one's expecting Chelsea to do much in this tie. Given that, can they go into it and kind of be like, right, let's go and give it our best, but if we lose, we know we're not going to get killed as a result?
Yeah, listen, I don't think Chelsea should be here in this final. They've had a soft run to the final. They've not really beaten any teams of any consequence. You know, with all due respect to the teams
they can only beat the teams
level.
that are in front of them. This anti-Chelsea on ESPN
Yeah,
is getting ridiculous.
No, you're absolutely right, Dan. But what I'm saying is that they haven't met a team of PSG's quality or of Real Madrid's quality or of Bayern Munich's quality, but PSG have beaten those teams. And I think we have to remember, Chelsea finished fourth in the Premier League last season, and it was a kind of a struggle to get fourth. They won the Conference League playing against teams that are nowhere near the level of Chelsea, never mind PSG. I think when they come into this game on Sunday, they'll meet a team which they're just not equipped to deal with. I think, in midfield they've got Caicedo and Fernandes. Good players, but that's 2 against 3 against the best midfield in the world. Every team's got a puncher's chance. We know that. It can always kind of turn around. But I just think PSG are playing so well. They've got so many options. Chelsea are a young team, a young developing team. This could get quite messy on Sunday. And it's not because Chelsea are a bad team. It's just because they're playing the best team in the world right now, who are absolutely at the top of their game.
Let's take a look at everyone's predictions, shall we, for the tie that takes place on Sunday. No surprise, PSG very much the favourites amongst most. I'm going to say, Jules. Why has Jules got complicated? Why have you got complicated, Jules?
I'm not.
Yeah,
I just think
time.
I think Chelsea are going to make it hard for PSG physically. I think they can compete in terms of intensity, what Robo was talking about earlier. And I think for that, I think they have a chance that way. I think in the end, PSG will be too strong and should win, but I think Chelsea is going to make it hard for them.
Easy.
We're talking about PSG as they played against Inter, and we talk about PSG as they played against Real Madrid. But I saw moments in the Bayern Munich game where Bayern Munich caused them 1 or 2 problems. In the first half, were probably the better team. I've seen Arsenal cause them 1 or 2 problems. Jules talked about Aston Villa causing them problems.